This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so this is our list of teams for this season. So if you'll see, we have a lot of the same, and then we're really excited to have OGA. They were with us previously, so we're excited to have them back again this year. So our structure, like I had mentioned before, we have 13 teams this year. So we're going back to the 2 divisions. I know last year we had 3 divisions, and we had interdivisional matches because we had the same number of teams. We felt as that it was just a little bit easier to manage with just the 2 divisions. It does make things a little bit awkward with 7 teams in Division 2, but that's how we did it. When we broke the divisions up, we've broke them up using that method we've always used, which was based on the top 2 teams or point-earning teams from each division. So you'll see when we break it out. So Division 1 has 6 teams, and it has Westmoreland, Persimmon, Tri-Mountain, Rock Creek, Forest Hills, and then Creekside. And then in Division 2, we have Heron Lakes, LPGA Amateur, Redtail, Stone Creek, Merriweather, and then Charbonneau and OGA. Yes.
How did you divide them? Did you do it?
So it's the top 2 teams from each division from the previous year. So it was the top 2 overall points winning teams from the year before.
Is this going to be on the portal?
It is, yeah. It's already on the portal too. Yep. And you'll find also on the portal is the match schedule. I didn't display it tonight, but it is up there. So Division 1, so all teams will play 5 matches. Teams will play everyone in their division. Division 2, so we've done, if you'll remember, we've had this issue in the past where we've had buys and we've had uneven number of teams in one division. Certain methods that we've used is we take an average of the points. The team with the most, the largest average of points is the overall points winner in that division. That's worked, but we kind of wanted to just listen to all of you and get feedback from you with regards to what that would look like. So we're going to give you a suggestion period until April 26th. You can email myself with any suggestions that you might have, and then we'll come back with a decision by May 1st. And those are for all the teams that are in Division 2. So if you've got some thoughts about how to make that work, please feel free to reach out to us and let us know. Otherwise, that's our schedule. We do have a site for 3. It's just not confirmed yet, so I can't make the announcement to it yet, but we do have that site for that one. It will be another tee times. Otherwise, all the events will be a shotgun this year. So Rose City is tee times, and the third match on July 17th, that will be a tee times as well, once we get it confirmed. And then Emerald Valley was pleased to host us again. It made sense. It does split it up between the 2 regions, so we'll be going there again. So with regard to the WIP championship, obviously last year we had 15 teams playing in the championship, whether that was overall, gross, or net divisions. This year with only 2 divisions in the South or in the Portland area, and there will only be 1 division in the Southern region. So we're going back to having only 9 teams in the championship. So that'll be 6 division championships and then 3 from the Southern region. The advantage of that is we only need 6 players to send to the championship versus 8 like we had last year. And just some caveats here and some reminders. So anybody, if you do make the championship, your roster needs to be filled with those players who have played at least once during your season. And then gross division will only compete for gross points. Net division will only compete for net points. And then, as usual, we will have our awards banquet to follow. And then we do plan to hold our season-ending finale attached to this as well. So if you don't make the championship, we really encourage you to come out and play. You can send 6 players. It'll be a consolation match, championship, gross and net prizes in that. The format for that has been a two-person scramble, and it's been somewhat fun. All right, what's new for 2023? So we are bringing back the captain's portal. That was really different last year. It is under construction right now, and I'm trying to get it back up and running again. But we will send out information when we reach out to you on May 1st. So you'll have access to it. You'll get your invitation. If you use the captain's portal in the past, it's exactly the same thing that you've seen. So you'll get an invitation to build your profile in it, and then before each match, we just ask you to go in and you set your rosters. So player eligibility. This is something that we all talked about. We knew it was a stumbling block for this program, so we did make an adaptation to what we've done in the past. So you'll see the player just needs to be in good standing with your club, but they can keep their handicap somewhere else, right? So in the past, it's been reversed, right? So we've always required that player to hold their handicap at the facility or the club that they're representing. So kind of a big change. We understand that the landscape for a lot of your clubs are that you have members and multi-members of other clubs, and so they keep their handicap other places. So we wanted to sort of adapt to what's already been out there. Yes. Yes. So you can add them and you can add them manually. Mm-hmm. And then mobile scoring, that's not new. We did it last year. We're still planning to assign somebody, a team to handle hole-by-hole scoring for the match. It was somewhat effective. I'm sure we'll make modifications. Yes.
Because last year we had a lot of problems with the captains not informing their team members how to score.
Yeah.
And they got to the course and said, I can't do it. And so it got forced onto the other teams. So if you guys could please have a meeting with your teams to talk about scoring, that would be very, very helpful.
There's really a good visual on the WIP site too. I don't know if it was there last year. It shows how to do it.
If it's not, I know what you're talking about, and we can put it back up. I'm actually building a small little video vignette as well to sort of talk about it as well. It kind of goes through the same PowerPoint presentation that we have. I walks through it. Yes, I completely agree. It was definitely a stumbling block to get out to the matches and then make sure that teams were, they had their GGIDs and they had the app. And the big difference is there's 2 different GGIDs. There's a GGID for our program, and then there's a GGID for the pairing itself. And so we do our best to send that information out to you guys prior to those matches. So distributing it to your players would be very beneficial and very helpful. There you go. That's it for 2023. So I will just go through our policies and procedures. So player eligibility. So like I mentioned, this is new. So the player must be an amateur, in good standing, and have an established gin handicap with an OGA member club. That would be the one stipulation that we would require, is they have to be a member of the OGA in order to play and compete for your team. Otherwise, they just need to be in good standing with your club. And
but they can only play with your club,
Correct, yeah. So once they declare they're going to play for your club, they can't play for another team, right? That is stipulated in the rules. They need to be over the age of 18 to play. And a team itself can consist of 6 players. Well, a team consists of 6 players for each match play day, 3 teams of 2 players, and players must be registered by the team captain on the team's roster. But there is no permanent roster required for each team, and no limit to the number of players who may be used during the regular season. I didn't delete that, so submitting rosters, forget that part of it. Some of your responsibilities, so education, rules of match play, right? We're working hard to get some good information about match play. I will touch on a few of them for you, and then here in a little bit, but just kind of encouraging them to understand that we play a 4-ball and it is match play, so it's a little bit different. So giving putts, concessions, all those things really matter, and they can be done. They don't need to hole out on every hole, well, especially if they're out of the hole. Match results. It's just your responsibility. We're still going to institute the same thing we've done. So when your last group comes in, if you've left the facility, we're going to assume that you've checked and finalized those points and those scores with your players, and they're good to go. So what is our format? So our format hasn't changed, right? So we're still a 4-ball match play. Our scoring system it's a hole-by-hole scoring system. We get 1 point for gross, 1 point for net, and a half a point for a tie, either gross and net. So there's a total of 36 total points per match, and 108 total team points available each match play day. So mobile scoring, so if you still have the blue, if someone still has the blue USGA Team TM app, it's now, it actually just kicks you back over to the Golf Genius app, so, which looks like that. And this is what it looks like, so just a reminder. So they'll get a GGID, and like we've done last year and the years in the past, we'll send that information out to you. We'll email it to you prior to that match day, and we'll actually have it available on that day as well to help answer questions. But like I said, you can provide that to your players before your match day. That would be really helpful if you're assigned to do it. So once you enter the GGID, it's going to take you to this screen. You just need to click on one name. Doesn't matter what name you tap on, just tap on a name, and it'll bring up this slide. So here's where you're going to enter your scores. So this person starts on this match started on the 12th hole. After the hole is completed, they're going to enter the information. It looks like Kathy, you get a pop on that hole, and that's denoted with a dot that's on the app itself. Right? Once you're done, you're just going to hit Save Scores, and it'll go on to the next hole. So here we go. We've entered the scores. We're going to click Save. Now, if you wanted to look at your pops and where you're going to get your strokes, you can go back to the little three lines. Click on that. Click on Scorecards, and then here you'll have your all of your pops, and you can see where your scores are. This is a really good screen when you finished your round. I know one of the things I've seen at the matches I've attended is people will come off the golf course, and invariably someone always keeps a scorecard record of it, and you review both of them. Really good idea. This is the screen you want to go to review those scores. And if someone else has the app available, it's okay that someone else has the app available and has your GGID for your group. Just keep in mind that whoever hits save scores last those are the scores that get saved, right? So whoever's designated as the scorer for your group, for that group, we just recommend that they are the ones that enter the scores and save it. However, everybody can go back and view what those scores are going to look like. And this is that screen that they would want to go to review the scores and see where they are. To get back, they're going to hit those 3 lines again, and they're going to go, oh, you can see leaderboard. So this is going to show you the number of points that you've had during your round. So it's going to show you both your gross points and then your net points right below. So leaderboard is a great place to go. As far as fees for this year, so our fees are not going to change, right? So we're going to stick with $45. Cart fees will adjust based on whatever the golf course is going to give us at, what the rates are going to be. And similar to last year, we'll probably just throw something out there to gauge exactly how many carts your teams are going to need. And then so we can relay that to the golf course. It does not mean that you're reserving the cart. It just means that you still need to go to the golf course and reserve that cart yourself. So.
Brent?
Yes.
Last year, I think it was last year, you encouraged people to call the course and reserve cart. None of them really wanted you to do that.
Okay.
Every time I would call, we don't need that, we have plenty of carts. We don't need that.
Okay.
So.
Okay. I think it's only going to matter. Good point. And I think it's really only going to matter at the clubs that like.
Rock.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Rock Creek was the issue, right? Like, because they only had like 29 carts or something like that. It might have been available. And so I think that was the issue. And that's really sort of where it comes from, is we just encourage it. It really comes top down too from all of our tournaments, where we're taking the onus off of us to reserve those carts and putting it back on the players, teams, and whatever else. So yeah, it's a good point. It's if there is those we will do our best for those clubs that we call and we contact, and they tell us that they only have a limited number of carts. So we'll relay that information back to you to make sure that you and your teams reserve those carts. Yes, good point. Scoring. So we will record scores for handicapping purposes, even though it's match play. So keep in mind, match play, there's really no need to have scores written down. It's just by who wins and loses. But we ask that those scores get recorded so that we have something to post. A lot of those cases, when you have an X, right? So that score is going to get posted as whatever handicap it is. So if you need to put in like an X6 or an X7 or something like that, the system should allow you to do that. Or let us know when you finish. We can do it on our end of it as well. Match play. So unlike in stroke play, so in stroke play, you're allowed, if you have a doubt about how to proceed, and even if you and your opponents can't come to a determination, you can't play 2 balls, you can only request a ruling, right? So you just have to ask somebody, hey, usually, whoever's in charge, whatever staff member's there, ask them the question if something comes up, right? And the timing of that is really important, right? So if, for instance, Tia and I are in a match against each other, and I say, I don't think you get relief from a ground under repair like that. And she's like, I think I do. She's going to go ahead and play. And I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to request a ruling. I have until we tee off on the next hole. I have until we tee off on the next hole to tell her that. Otherwise, for it to be valid, right? Or if it's the last hole, before we announce the results, or before we tell the committee what the results of the match are. If that makes sense. I'm happy to talk rules all day long. Concessions. So you can always concede your next stroke, the hole, but once they're done, they can't be withdrawn. I think one of the areas that we always seem to run into is players get up on the putting green and someone could be putting for a 7 and the other side is already in for a 5. This point, you know, you can go ahead and pick up, or if someone says you can go ahead and concede, it's going to be okay. You know, that hole's already been determined. I think really that's the big point. So once the hole's been decided, whether that's gross or net, then you can probably go ahead and pick up and go to the next hole. That really would help our pace of play a lot if you would consider doing that.
Some players, though, are determined they're going to putt out anyway. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean,
Can you pick up their ball?
you don't want to do that, right? Like, yeah, you don't want to go that far because you could be picking up their ball and maybe they do have a legitimate putt for something, and that, yeah.
But you know, so many are close because the way you pair us, you know, the A group, the B group, the C group, so many of them are close that it has to go to the end.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's different if you've got a big difference in your handicap or something, but so many of them are close.
Yeah.
We do play it out.
Yeah, and I think what's really, you make a valid point, and I think what's really good is just going back to that screen that shows where those pops are going to be. As long as everybody has a really good understanding of where their pops are and who is, right? So Kathy had a pop on that hole, so seeing it on that hole and really helping the other people know where those are coming from. And keep in mind, the pops are coming from Golf Genius, and I think one of the things that I've seen a lot happen is, you know, you get to a golf course and we do our best to try to send you what the handicap table is going to look like, the stroke allocation table is going to look at all the information we send you. So that's a really good place to understand exactly what your handicap is and where that's going to fall. And keep in mind, it's 4-ball match play, so we're taking 85%.
I just meant if you're conceding a putt, can you pick up their ball because they're determined? Some people are just determined, I'm going to put it anyway, even though you conceded.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I know. Yeah. 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 You probably don't. I would probably refrain from that. I would just continue to remind them, you know, that's a practice putt, right? At this point, that's just a practice putt, right? So you can make it or not. Like, that's not going to count. Like, I think just reiterating to them that you've already conceded it, and so whatever they're putting for is just a practice putt. That's all it is at that point. Yeah, no waste of time. Whatever ways we can use to improve our pace, I think concession would be really one of those areas that we can do it, right? So that's, really quickly, just to touch on a few other match play differences. So penalties, it's the general penalty. General penalty is 2 things, right? Strokes and stroke play, and it's loss of hole in match play. So, you know, what that looks like. So if a player, because it's 4-ball, you could have one player get the general penalty, and so they're out of the hole, and the other player still has a chance to play. But either way, it's loss of hole. So you're done, right? You're just moving on to the next hole in that case. And that's going to apply both to gross and net points, right? So even though, honestly, what we do is a little different, and it falls under some weird lines in the rules, but it's still it's a gross match and it's a net match, and the outcome's still going to be the same on both ends if they get the general penalty. All right, maintaining pace of play is really important. Again, reiterating that to your players. Picking up, you know, if one player is out of the hole, clearly out of the hole, they can go ahead and pick up. One of the nice things, so obviously knowing your pops, right? So determining all of that and having a good understanding of where your strokes are before you play is a really good idea. And having everybody understand where those strokes are going to fall is a really good idea. That can be done in different ways, and I've seen a lot of people do it in different ways, where the match gets to either their tee, where they're going to play from, and they start talking about the handicaps and determining what the handicaps are. So if someone has a course scorecard, just putting the dots down for everybody so everybody knows where those dots are. I think that's one of the best things I've seen, and a good way for everybody to understand who gets what pops, because not everybody is going to have access to the app itself. So that's a really good way to do it. It's good, it's visual, and it's good for everybody to know. So knowing the strokes before you tee off, really good idea. Playing ready golf, it's a little bit of a caveat. That's a very stroke play thing. So in match play, order of play really matters, and it will always matter. It's fundamental of the format. But what you can do is you can allow someone to go ahead and play. So I'm way back here, and Tiana's my opponent, and she's way up there. I'm going to go ahead, and I've got a fiddle in my bag and figure out how I'm going to play this shot. I'm going to go ahead and encourage her to go ahead because she's in the middle of the fairway, as she always is. And she's got short iron in her hand like she always does. So I'm going to encourage her to go ahead and hit it, like she always does, while I fiddle back here. So you can do that, right? Even as a 4-ball match, you can encourage your other side to go ahead and play. But keep in mind, if your strategy is to ensure what you want to see what they do, order of play still matters. But for pace of play purposes, please encourage somebody else to go ahead and play if they have an easier shot or something like that. And it drops down to 6.4A2. That's really what that rule is. Inviting your opponent to play if you're not ready to play. And then picking up if you're out of the hole, right? So that's just a standard, right? Tiana and I are partners, and as usual, I'm putting for a 6, or I'm hitting my 5th shot onto the green, and she's 5 feet for birdie. I'm going to go ahead and pick it up every time, right? Because the best we're going to do is make par. But picking up really matters. Even understanding where you are in the hole will help pace of play tremendously, right? How many strokes your partner lies, how many strokes your opponents lie, each of them, and having that really good understanding is really going to speed up play a lot, right? Because you're going to know when you get to the green, does this putt matter? Does this matter? Can we just move on, right? And then conceding short putts. I can putt 2-footers all day long. I'm sure all of you can putt 3-footers. You're probably well better than I am at putting 3-footers and 4-footers. But just encouraging your players to concede short putts, right? I get it. Players are determined to putt out and practice. I get it, but short putts are short putts. Now, caveat to the rules, back to the rules. You can't, before you tee off a match, say everything within 3 feet is good. You cannot do that. So that's not what I'm saying at all, right? What I'm saying is, on a hole-by-hole basis, you can say, all right, that 5-footer is good. I've seen you make too many of them today. Something like that, right?
When do you put an X and when do you not put an X?
Depends on what score you're counting, right? So, if someone picks up, then they're going to get an X, right? So if I don't finish out the hole, I'm going to get an X, right?
But if someone just concedes a putt, you don't have to put an X.
No, you don't.
Right.
And if my partner's doing better and I pick up when I'm on the green, I still get an X?
Well, I mean,
Or do I say what score I think?
well, I mean, I think that you would get an X in that point, right? So because you're on the green and you pick up, your partner is going to get the score for your hole. So determining on the scorecard, that would matter, because I mean, maybe you could have, you're picking up for 5 or a 6, right? And they're putting for a 5, right? And what happens if they miss that 5, right? So now they're in the hole for a 6, right? So we don't want that to be construed differently. So we would want you to put an X on that. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
I thought you said,
Because if you're putting for the same and you're both 3 feet away, and they make it, and you would get a 6, I would put a 6. I mean, I would say your best possible score. If you're putting, yeah, that's what we've always done, is best possible score.
Yeah, as long as it's identified by the person who made that score, totally fine.
Yeah, because the one who already made it, so it doesn't really matter.
Right.
You're just then for handicap purposes for posting.
Right.
So that's why we've always done it.
Yeah. So X would be,
If you actually pick up in the fairway because you went in the water 3 times, that is right.
yeah, that's when I think X's are, when you're out in the fairway.
yeah,
You're not on the green yet.
yeah,
Because it negates you then wanting to pace a play, because then I don't want to pick up, I would get an X, and I could put it and get my 5, because we already have a 5. So I think you have to be really careful with that, because people don't like X's.
You picked up, you would put 5X.
Right.
You wouldn't put X.
Yeah,
And
but
X could be a 7.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. I mean, the rules. I mean, like typically dealing with like scorecards themselves, and the rules for match. The rules for 4-ball is you really need to identify the person who made that score, right? And so that's why that X comes into play. So yeah, with an X. Yeah. All right. Moving on. So just a few more helpful suggestions here. So make sure you watch the ball flight with your partner and their opponent, just kind of keeping an eye out, right? Keep your pre-shot routine short. Don't be like me. Takes a minute and a half. And then just keep up with the group in front of you, right? Like nothing is worse than, so obviously like, I'll give you a good example, right? So I was running a qualifier yesterday here, and we had a group. We do a checkpoint system for our championships and qualifiers, and so they have like times they have to meet, right? So we have this one group that misses 3 different checkpoints, and I walk up to the guy and I'm saying, hey, this is your 3rd checkpoint mixed. He's like, but like I haven't seen the guys behind us all day long. That's not what matters, right? Like, yeah. Keeping up with the group in front of you always matters, right? We'll certainly do our best to make sure that if there are gaps out there, we'll stay on top of groups to make sure their pace of play is being maintained, but encouraging your players themselves, make sure they're right on top of that group in front of them. Typically for us, I know for our events, what we sort of gauge as being out of position when it comes to what that looks like is if it's a par 4 and that group in front is on the tee of the next hole, that group is out of position. If it's a par 5 and the group in front is on the putting green and they're just on the tee, that group is out of position. Par 3, same deal. If the group is on the tee and if the group in front is on the tee and the group behind is on the tee of the par 3, then that group on the tee would be out of position. So that's our typical rule of thumb and how we determine gaps. You're looking at me funny. No, they're clear the green. Yeah, they're clear the green and they're on the tee. Right. Oh, no. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Keeping up the group in front of you. There you go. A little short and sweet, but any questions? Any other suggestions everybody has? All right. Well, There we go. Like I had mentioned before, I will send this out, so you've got a copy of it. And then we'll send out more information with regards to the captain's portal, and then determining what we'll do with buys for that second division. And then we'll probably pepper you with more information. As we've done in the past, you know, if we'll send out requests for your entries and your match payments 7 days prior to each event. And the same thing would apply as well. So if you could have your rosters inputted 7 days prior to each event, that would allow us.
So we're gonna be putting those in the portal.
And you'll put, yes, you'll put those, all of that will go into the portal itself.
So last year we just emailed Adam with our names. Now we want us to put the names, go back to putting them in.
Yeah, it's a lot easier for you and it's a lot easier for us because we don't, you know, emails can get lost and that paper trail was a lot to manage through. And then if you have, so one of the main reasons why we are going that direction, because we won't actually look at your rosters until that entry deadline for the match. So in between those times, you can adjust your rosters all the way around. So what we ran into a little bit last year was someone would want to adjust their rosters multiple times before the deadline, and then we had to keep track of a lot of that. So that was difficult. In this case, you know, it just allows you a lot more flexibility to change in your rosters before the match deadlines. Now, after the match deadlines, then obviously we're going to put out information with pairings and that information. So if you do need to change your rosters, then you would just email us and we will adjust those after the fact.
It's the handicap 40 unless it be like if it's like a hard course and the handicap there is a 36 to make it a 40.
So I think we've moved it to 40.4 is our max handicap, right? So if the course rating is higher, if someone's a 40.4, but whatever their course handicap is, and that pushes it above it, the index can't be more than 40.4.
And then we're on a 90%, right? 90% of our handicap.
You said 85 or this.
I know, but I think it's 90 unless we changed it, right?
I think you're right. I think it might be 90. I think I'm thinking 85 is for men. I'll go back and check.
Okay.
Brent, is the schedule out for the teams in the second division, like, so people know what they have for 5 weeks?
Yeah, it is.
I didn't hear.
It's on the portal. Yes. All the match schedule is up on the portal, so you can see what your match. If you're in Division 1, you can see who you're playing each week. If you're Division 2, you can see where your buys are going to fall. Is that it? All right.
We missed our book.
The books are all online, so they're all in the portal as well. So if you do have a question about like where the rules are, what your responsibilities are, you can find all of that information populated on the portal. So we decided to save a few trees, that's all. So it's all digital format. But if you want a hard copy, you can print it yourself. I can send you an email. I don't really know. So there's still more food back there if you guys want to eat. Unfortunately, the bars went home, but.
What's your name again?
Oh, Tiana.
Shauna.